On Saturday, April 25, 2026, 2,300 journalists and VIPs gathered for the White House Correspondents Dinner, filling the subterranean ballroom of the Washington Hilton. The event featured a highly anticipated guest. President Donald Trump was attending the dinner for the first time since taking office. Securing a crowd of this magnitude requires a multi-layered defense strategy. To even reach the ballroom doors, attendees had to navigate consecutive inner perimeters, passing through strict ticket checks and magnetometers. But the venue itself presents a unique challenge. Because the Hilton remains a functioning commercial hotel during the event, the outer perimeter allows registered guests to move freely through the upper lobbies without heavy screening. That loophole was exploited by 31-year-old Cole Tomas Allen. By checking in as a registered guest, Allen legally bypassed the outer perimeter. He positioned himself in the upper lobby, heavily armed and waiting just 50 yards from the final Secret Service checkpoint. At that exact moment, the scene downstairs was routine. Waiters served the first course of spring pea and burrata salad to an oblivious crowd. When we look at high-profile political events, the visible layers of armed agents create an illusion of absolute safety. But that security apparatus still has to operate within the logistical reality of a standard commercial hotel. At exactly 8:35 p.m., the attack began. Allen broke from his position, sprinting 50 yards down the corridor directly toward the checkpoint. As he reached the barricades, between 5 and 8 gunshots fired in rapid succession. Down in the cavernous ballroom, the acoustics distorted the noise. Many guests initially assumed a waiter had dropped a heavy catering tray. It took several seconds for the realization of gunfire to set in, sending hundreds of attendees diving under their tables. Back upstairs, the suspect and the immediate law enforcement perimeter were actively exchanging gunfire. During this chaotic engagement, one law enforcement officer was shot point blank. The officer survived the impact completely due to their protective equipment. Rather than relying solely on return fire, the security detail physically overwhelmed the shooter. They tackled Allen to the ground and successfully applied handcuffs, without the suspect sustaining any gunshot wounds. The violent interception at the barricade proved the system's design. When an outer ring perimeter fails to identify a threat, a hardened physical backstop at the inner ring becomes the absolute last line of defense. At the first sound of gunfire, an immediate protocol was triggered. The Secret Service counter-assault team swarmed the stage to form a physical wall. Their priority was the rapid extraction of the high-value targets. Agents quickly surrounded the president, First Lady Melania, and Vice President J.D. Vance, rushing them off the stage and out of the open room. The president was immediately moved to a secure, fortified presidential suite, located elsewhere inside the Hilton. The existence of that specific holding room is not a coincidence. It was engineered directly in response to the 1981 assassination attempt on Ronald Reagan, which occurred at this exact venue. Modern executive protection requires rapid tactical reflexes in the moment, but those reflexes rely heavily on historical infrastructure and decades of contingency planning built into the architecture itself. Inside the secure suite, the situation entered a tense holding pattern. Hotel staff even began resetting the teleprompter as the president initially pushed to return to the ballroom and resume his speech. The Secret Service issued a definitive override. They scrapped the event entirely and initiated an emergency motorcade evacuation, speeding him back to the White House. By 10:30 p.m., the crisis shifted to the White House briefing room. The president addressed the media, flanked by the Attorney General and FBI leadership. He publicly praised the speed and efficiency of the Secret Service detail, explicitly noting that their response at the Hilton checkpoint was faster and tighter than the protective actions taken during the assassination attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania 2 years prior. Lone wolf political violence remains a highly unpredictable threat, but the events of April 25th show how a rigidly enforced, multi-layered perimeter can absorb a direct, heavily armed charge and stop a mass tragedy before it reaches the ballroom floor.